Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to a very special Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And on this week's COTC, we have got the two worst pound for pound teams in the Premier League this season. And come the end of Wednesday night, one of them is going to boil some serious piss. We are previewing the Europa League final. Firstly, let me introduce you to the nominated home team in white. It's our Tottenham Hotspur correspondent. It's Ricky Saunders. How are you, Ricky?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's getting nervous now, but yeah, all right. Yourself?
Bricking it. And our Manchester United correspondent in the red corner is Gary Robinson. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thanks. How are you two?
We bricking it pretty much, basically, mate. We should just say, guys, we are pre-recording this on Saturday morning, which means we're not long from the two teams' latest brilliant performance on Friday evening. Ricky, firstly, how would this feel to Tottenham to win it?
Um, well, very simply, James, if we win it, it's our first trophy in 18 years, or 17 years. It's our first European trophy in 41 years. If we don't win it, it's the worst season we've had since the year I was born. It's that's essentially what it is. It's one way or the other.
Gary, what does it mean for Manchester United?
I think it's taken on more meaning because of it, just because, unfortunately, because of the things that it'll provide for next season. I think that the trophy aspect of it's one thing, obviously, and that's always the point of any football season. But I think because of how the modern game is now, and you can't disassociate what's going to come of it if we don't win, and that is that lack of funding for next year, and what the hell that club's going to do next season because it's all riding on this really. If we can win this, get some vibes in, get a trophy on the table again, get some proper money in to spend that we're allowed to spend, should I say, then next season's looking a bit rosier. If it doesn't, then again, it's going to be one of the worst seasons, of the last however many years.
Well,
So
it is, isn't it? Whichever team loses, it's their
yeah,
worst
Yeah.
season, at least in modern history. And when I
exactly,
say
yeah,
modern history, I'm going over like, well, at least 30 years for Tottenham's case. Yours, Gary's probably since you went down in the 70s, isn't it?
I would have thought so, yeah. So it's staggering that it's all boiling down to this, and I think it's probably annoying for both teams that it's against another English team. I think we probably both feel more confident if it was against any of the other teams that were left in that have been knocked out. So yeah,
Do you
it's
agree with that,
nice.
Ricky? Would you rather not play United?
Yeah, I do. And the reason being, look, if we can control the pace and make this a European game, we've got half a chance. If this turns into a Premier League game, we're fucked. Essentially, we've got to slow this pace down and play it like we have against Bodo and AZ and Frankfurt. If this turns into a Premier League game, fast-paced game, I think we're going to be in trouble.
Ange is unbeaten against United.
And
Just saying.
yeah, no, I know. Look, and jumping against United, and what is it? I think United have won one game in the last 3, 4 years, something like that, against Tottenham. So our recent record against United is absolutely brilliant. But they've all been under really, really different circumstances with managers and team selections. The players we've been able to pick in our case. And in United's case, with both with injuries and things like that. So yeah, this is a bit of a different one, really. Every and I think as well, what Gary said about what this can lead on to next season. Obviously, Champions League football, the players you can attract, the money you can spend, that's going to bring its own pressure as well. And I don't know that our players are as equipped potentially to deal with that pressure. Obviously, we've got a lot of youngsters in the side. United have got some too, but there's not many medals floating around our team. And the winning mentality is quite a hard one to get when you haven't won anything, but also the pressure of a game of that magnitude. It's not a league game against United. It's a place in the Champions League essentially with all of the money that it brings and obviously the trophy. And yeah, I think we possibly underestimate the amount of pressure that that's going to put on a lot of young shoulders.
Gary, Ricky raises a fair point there, doesn't he? I mean, if you win this, you've actually won a trophy for 3 years in a row.
Mm,
Everyone in the squad basically knows how to get over this line in a big game, right? And you've beat Newcastle and Manchester City in those two finals, right?
yeah, yeah.
Lads, it's Tottenham.
No, it's true. I think all normal viewing of it, you think we should be all right. But you look at Tottenham, 17th in the league, had an appalling season really, and you think, oh, it should be fine. But then you look at how we've been, and you just think, I've got no confidence that they'll just do what they need to do. Which is probably unfair because in Europe this season they've actually been unbelievable. Really, they've never really, apart from that Mad Leon game, they've looked pretty comfortable in every match we've played. And obviously, you'd say the standard's not been great, but the stand it's not. We've also not played that many really easy teams, especially not in the knockout stage. Our knockout run's been, pretty decent really of a standard. So you'd think we'd be fine, but I mean, can you look at that team and honestly trust any of them? So um, yeah, I'm not holding my breath. I think we should be fine, but I could easily see it blowing up in our faces. But I suspect that's probably what all Tottenham fans are thinking. So it
And
is,
worse.
yeah,
Pretty much
yeah,
same lines. I don't think I need to ask
yeah,
Ricky the question. He's just going to agree, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
in terms of the confidence, no, I mean, it's
No,
not
we're
there, is it?
we're
But
we're in the final and we're going to somehow manage to come third. It's just a Tottenham thing to do.
not this time, Ricky. Although we've trod that path. Right, Ricky, give us a percentage, right, chance of Ange being Tottenham manager day one next season.
Well, it's the percentage of us winning the game. Let's start with that first of all. So I'm going to go. It's 60-40 United's favour, right? So straight away, he's got a 40% chance of being there because I think we all know that if we lose that final and goes the next day, if not the same day. So from that 40%, it's 50-50 chance. So I'm going to say 20%. 20% that he's going to be there day one next season.
Do you want him there next season if Tottenham win the trophy?
I've done a lot of thinking about this. So I had a robust conversation with a couple of Celtic fans in a pub when I was watching the
I
semi-final
literally
second
said
leg.
to you before we started, don't talk about this.
Yeah. But they obviously they're big. They love Big Ange.
Of
They think
course.
he's brilliant, and trying to get across the line that look, the tactical ineptitude that he has doesn't show when you're home to St Mirren. It does show when you're away at Arsenal. There's differences, but anyway, they love him, and it has got me thinking since. And obviously, we're all on a bit of a high after getting to the final. Does he deserve a chance? And I was getting just a little bit sucked in again to thinking, he's gone out there and he may go out there and win a trophy. Does he deserve to be in charge? And he probably does, but I don't want to see that football again. The style of football and the results in the league. I know that the league stuff, a lot of it has been impacted by the Europa League and the changes he's made and the systems that he's played possibly. But no, I don't want to see it anymore. I don't know where we go to. I haven't got a suggestion that's gonna, solve everything, but I don't know that I want to see that.
Gary, do you hope that Ange Postecoglu is Tottenham manager next season?
Um, well, yeah, because if he is, then I mean, I don't know if United can really compete for the top end of the league next season, but um, if Ange's still there, then that Tottenham can't compete. That's one of the obvious names out of the running, and it makes it a little bit easy for United to get back in there if we can sort ourselves out. Because I think Ricky's nailed it there. Ange will never make it as a manager of a top team in the Premier League because he cannot. Well, it's not that he cannot. He will not design a team at any point to defend properly. And he can sit there and say, "Oh, this is how we play, mate," as long as he wants. But he's going to get found out week after week after week after week. And if he's not going to change, then fair play to him. But we all know the results, and you could probably argue the same about Amorim, really, that these managers are so wedded to their philosophy that they've tried and tested elsewhere, and they come to the Premier League, and it's like, oh right, yeah, it doesn't work every week, and it's got to work. Well, it didn't have to work every week this season because it's been a really poor Premier League season, hasn't it? The points tally to get second is going to end up being a joke, really. But we presumably next season we go back to normal, and yeah, if Postecoglou keeps playing like he did this season and for most of last season, it's impossible to finish in them top places because you just concede too many goals.
That's it, isn't it, Ricky? Nothing will sum it up better than if you speak to an opposing football fan on what they think.
Yeah. I mean, obviously sometimes we're too close to it to be able
Yeah.
to give an objective opinion. When you hear other fans saying it, that really kind of hammers it home. So no, you can fuck off. I'm not interested.
However, the game at Villa Friday night, Tottenham just sat in. The game in Bodo, Tottenham just sat in. Game in Frankfurt, Tottenham just sat in. So there has been some adaptation recently, hasn't there?
There has, but he's got this all completely wrong. We've sat in, and if we'd have been sitting in at the start of the year or last year, brilliant because we had pace all over the pitch that could capitalise on that. We haven't now. We sit in as a breakaway, and I mean Sonny typified it brilliantly. Flies down the wing with no real idea of what he's going to do, and puts a ball into nobody. And that's that's who we are now, mate. We don't have the players currently that can capitalise on that style. There's no one to play a killer pass, a 60-yard diagonal that can break open defences. The pace isn't really there for the most part. It's tactics are just wrong.
Confident then.
Yeah, brilliantly, yeah.
All right, Gary. Okay. So I think Ricky was right. He probably is 60-40 in your favour. I think that's pretty spot on, actually. But what if it goes against you? At what point next season does this question then come to Amorim on results? Because he is getting a pass at the moment, isn't he? But yeah, I think most of us think it will get better. I don't think any of us particularly think that Postecoglou is
It
like,
can't get worse,
people
can it?
can't
It
see it.
can't get worse. Yeah.
Well, it can. You can go down next year, mate.
Well, yeah.
You probably won't. But there does feel like
Whilst we're in the Champions League.
I think Amorim is likable. I think he's been open and honest. He clearly is quite driven to want a Manchester United that can excel. But if you don't win this trophy and then we're in October and you're like 14th, 15th, what's going to happen, mate?
He'll be sad.
Is there any chance he gets sacked if he loses the final?
No, I think they're all in on him for now because I think they've realised that they've appointed this manager with his philosophy. They've not given him the players yet, and I think they want to give him a chance. But he's going to burn. I mean, if he doesn't win this trophy on Wednesday, he's going to have no credit in the bank at all, and he's going to burn through that. What he's going to burn through his overdraft, as it were, very quickly at the start of next season. Because if we win the Europa League and get the Champions League football, then you probably just write the season off. But if we don't, we're going to say, hang on, we finished 16th in the league. When Ten Hag was sacked, and everyone probably agreed that he was sacked too late as well. I think we're only 5 points off Champions League football. And that was after a really poor start. And Amorim's league performances so far have been awful, really. And some of them you can attribute to saying, "Oh, well, we had Europa League football coming up," but the idea that Man United are writing off league games, and that's fair enough if you end up finishing like Mourinho did that, but I think we finished sixth when Mourinho did it. Finished sixth and won the Europa League. We might end up finishing 17th and win Europa League. And
We won't beat Brian.
Well, but all right, well, 16th and we finish 16th. It's like, is the squad really that bad and really that low in numbers that we couldn't have tried to maintain a league campaign of some description? And maybe Amorim would say it is, and and I'm not saying it's the greatest squad of players that we've ever seen, but it's not 16th best in the Premier League, is it? There's there's enough players there that we should have been having a better go at league matches than this, I think. And that'll be fine this season, like I say, if Wednesday goes our way. But very quickly that'll be forgotten very even if we win. We beat Man City in the FA Cup final last season, and 3 weeks into the Premier League season this year, it was like, oh, stuck with Ten Hag again. These things, you know, these things don't last. The credit won't last that long, even if we do win it. And you've got to have to find a way of winning league matches at the same time as being competitive in. I mean, if we get Champions League football either of us next season, how are we going to balance that amongst our league form? Because some of the fixtures we'll have in that will be tougher than we've had in this. So I worry. I do worry for him because yeah, I just don't know if we've got the team that can compete how he wants it to, and we're not going to find even if we get Champions League money. There's only so much. We can't. We need a goal scorer, so that's a lot of money to get goals in your team. We're going to need wing backs. We probably need a new keeper. We need a new centre half. We probably need a midfielder. There's just so much that needs changing, and that's just in the 11. Forget building the squad out to be able to compete at 50, 60 games a season. So, yeah, I worry for him either way, really, because he's not shown yet that he can cope with demands of picking a team in the Premier League to win matches and then sustain cup runs. And maybe he has got that under his belt, but we haven't seen it yet. So I do worry.
There's a reminder in there, Ricky, of something that can happen because nobody give United a prayer ahead of the final against Manchester City last year. I mean, Gary, I remember doing the podcast with you and Johnny. I'm kind of
Mm,
laughing about your chances actually in
yeah.
that final, and you put on a brilliant display in the first half and deserve to win that final. So something can happen in a one-off game, Ricky. It's not like, I mean, you listen to Gary speak. It's not like they can't be beaten, can it? There's a lot wrong with them as well, quite
Yeah,
quite clearly. What do you think? Not the team that you would pick. What team do you think Ange will pick on Wednesday night?
I think he'll probably pick the team that I would pick purely because there's not many options at the moment. With the defense picks itself, and you wouldn't. I couldn't imagine that he would deviate from what you or I would pick. And then moving forward up the pitch, we've just got so few options. The number 10 spot is really the only one that's kind of up for debate, just purely because of the low numbers that we've got.
Who do you think it'll be?
Who do I think it will be? I think he will probably play. Well, I would before yesterday I'd have said Papsar, but he played.
And he might have got injured.
And he might have got injured. He didn't look very good coming off the pitch, did he? So before then, I'd have said that, and that wouldn't have filled me with an awful lot of confidence. I don't dislike the bloke at all, but that's not his position. If you're asking me who I would play, I'd possibly punt it on Odegaard.
That's the one who got the minutes there against Villa.
And he's played a lot there, not necessarily for Tottenham, but he has played as a 10 in the past elsewhere as well. I'd go with that, but because it's possibly the sensible thing, Ange won't do it. I'd perhaps if not perhaps maybe Richie. But if you do that with Richie, you know you're making a sub on 60 anyway, because he's not going to last the game. It just seems whoever we play there, it's only going to be for 2/3 of the game. That we're not going to have a solution in that position all game because nobody that can play there will last the 90 minutes.
Okay. So you think team will be Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Bentancur, Bissouma,
Zuma.
Johnson right, Solanke up front. You think Sun starts left, do you?
I think Son starts left, and that's also another substitution on 60 minutes as well, which is unfortunate. And yeah, Solanke down the middle. And I don't know that we've got much else we can do with that. Mikey Moore, I mean, I love Mikey Moore, but he had another very poor game last night.
He's not ready, is he?
No, he was
He's
nowhere near
17.
ready.
He's a pup. And he did a lot of really good work defensively, actually. He's not
Yeah,
ready yet.
no, and I know we probably need to be careful in judging him because we've all got high hopes and he did look good. But yeah, he's been off it since he come back from his illness, stroke injury. Um, but yeah, it's just lower numbers, mate. But I would go Odebear. I think he'll probably go Richie.
As the 10, I think Richie will start. I think the clue in that was him not playing last night.
Yeah,
But I think Richarlison will play off the left, and I think he'll play Son as the 10.
that
I
plus
think
others a 10. Okay.
I think that's the way that he's going to do it. There was a lot of speculation prior to the Villa game that Son was being tried in that 10 position. I think he looks at it from there's obviously a huge creativity void. No Maddison, no Kulusevski, and Bergval's then the next one who would have played in that position. You're without all three of them. I think he looks at Son's ability to see a pass at least as the reason why he'll go down that route and
I,
try and get him in that left 10 pocket close to Richarlison.
I have heard some unconfirmed. I haven't seen any pictures myself, but apparently there's pictures of Bergvall in training this
He
week.
he's run he we know again we're pre-recording this on Saturday. We know that he's back running,
Mm.
but he's only taking the boot off at the start of the week, so he can't start anyway, Ricky. He might make the bench. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
There's no way he can
Well, that,
start.
that that could be your 60-minute sub, but that's probably an indictment of where we are at the minute that we're eagerly waiting news on an 18-year-old to try and make the game winnable for us. I mean,
I think he's 19 now, Ricky.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it. I think Ange had said that again prior to Villa. I don't actually think he's on the kid. I think you're better off being honest at this stage. Gary, what would be your response to that Tottenham lineup? Particularly sort of the idea of Son maybe playing as a 10.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's sad watching some actually. I think because I think we've been as a neutral. I think everyone's kind of liked some over the last 10 years has it been in the league. But to watch him now, it's kind of like watching De Bruyne now, isn't it? It's like you think, oh, it's sad to see his legs have completely gone. I mean, might be tempting to. Is he? Can he do it in that number 10 role? I don't know
Don't know.
really. Yeah. Um, he doesn't. He hasn't got that. He's lost that burst of speed, I think, hasn't he? And for all his many skill sets, he's never really had an eye for a killer pass. I don't know really. I don't know if I'd see that, but I don't know. Like to both your points, I don't know who else you put in there, given the injuries you've got in that position. So yeah, I wouldn't. Doesn't doesn't strike me as that worrying, but um, you know,
Uh,
United aren't that great in that area either. So you know, I suppose one thing you could say is if you get him in central areas, then he might have more chance to have shots and all that kind of stuff. So
and your goalkeeper's
um,
good at long range saving, isn't he, Gary?
yeah, yeah, so I can start on that.
I think that might be part of the thinking here. Yeah, is can you
Mm,
get him into areas where he can
just get him
he
on,
can
get
strike
him
at
some
goal at
shots.
stuff? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The Suma's going to launch one from 30.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be up to behind one of the goals. I might be catching one of his shots, judging by the way they normally go. Go on in, Gary. Tell us what you think Amrin will pick on Wednesday.
Onana, Mazraoui, Yoro, Maguire, Shaw, Dorgu, Ugarte, Casemiro, Fernandez, Hoyland, Garnacho.
There was any one of about 3 or 4 names you could have said at the end there, which is interesting. Can we have
Yeah,
one of them? Any of them?
I know. Yeah, I think that's the other thing that might play into our favour is that if it is a tight game or whatever, we could end up being able to bring Ahmad, Menu, Mount off the bench there, or Garnacho off the bench if Ahmad's played or whatever, and hopefully that would play into our favour. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's what he'll go for though.
Is that what you want him to go for?
I'd be tempted to drop Hoyland.
I knew you were going to say that.
I just I know it'd be a bit of a mad bold idea. I'd be really tempted to put maybe put Garnacho through the middle and play Ahmad and Mount say or something like that because Hoyland's offering nothing. It's not just that he's not scoring. If he wasn't scoring, but he's still occupying defenders and everything else, but he's not doing anything. So I'd be really tempted to not play him, but I think he'll have to play him. I don't think he'll want to use this game as one where you that's quite a bold experimental pick, isn't it? So I don't think he'll do it.
It's also what
But
does
he
that
must be
do to the
really
player?
tempted.
Because, and I realise this, and you've got obviously got the pick for yourself. But what I mean by that is, if you don't start with him and then you need him because you need a goal, you then tell him, "Well, we didn't trust you from the start. Now go on and save the game for us." When you know he looks like a player who suffers with confidence, doesn't he?
I know, but this needs winning this game, doesn't it? I know what you're saying, but it's not. This this isn't soccer. This game needs winning. So um,
I just think the two teams need a bit of soccer aid, mate.
Jonathan Wilkes up front. No, I just yeah. I know I agree, and I don't think he'll do it, but I'd be really tempted to do it.
No, I think he might. I think he might. Would Bruno play as the nine, maybe, under that circumstance, and just let him go where he wants?
Maybe, maybe.
Particularly if the two players behind were like speedsters like Garnacho and Ahmad.
Yeah, he could do it that way around. Yeah, he could definitely do it that way around. Um, but I don't like it when he does that with Fernandez. I prefer Fernandez in his best position, but he might do that and give him a free role and obviously try and confuse Spurs' centre backs that way because that would give all. Then no one would really know where to go. Then would they? It wouldn't suit Romero's game. He likes someone to have a scrap with, doesn't he? And Van der Ven will want someone to have a race with. If put Fernandez up, then that might nullify both of them. So yeah, he could do that. But then you could argue if he did that with a Mount and an Ahmad or a Garnacho, you could argue makes it a bit more solid in midfield still as well. So he could do that, but I think he'll pick Ireland. But
I've got a feeling he won't. Um,
oh well, I hope
and I
you're
think
right.
there's an I think it could even be Mason Mount as a nine. We don't
Yeah,
even you don't
yeah,
even play with one. It looked like from what I watched of the game against Chelsea, it looked like you had a real lean to leaving Diallo quite right hand side ish and giving up the
yeah,
left hands. I don't know if that was something specific because of how Chelsea often played with their right back, but Tottenham also with Pedro Porro want to get him inside off position as well. So it might even be something that was part set
yeah,
for Wednesday night. I have a suspicion that Hoyland might not play actually, and I'm quite fearful of that. I know if Hoyland plays, Hoyland's looks frankly he's looked trash, but then he's against my team. He's ultimately going to win the fucking game, isn't he? But I think if you pull one of them away from Romero and Van der Ven, as you said, I'm very worried about how we get dominated centrally. And I think
yeah, yeah,
one thing that I think will surprise people Wednesday night is I think Manchester United will have a lot more of the ball than people think.
yeah, yeah. I think we have got better at at being able to keep hold of the ball now. That has definitely improved.
And
Um,
I think with our lack of creativity in the 10 position, we're opening up hoping that you'll overcommit
yeah,
and can use. And I know Ricky's questioned about speed, but people like Johnson or Son over the top or going direct to Solanke can obviously be useful. Yeah, I'm concerned that you'll play a Fernandez or Mount type and just drop them off the front and dominate the game. Then you've got to rely on
yeah,
us being strong defensively and Ricky.
Yeah, we are not strong. Look, Van der Ven, I'm not going to say anything negative about the guy. Um, the doggy, Porro, their job isn't to defend. It would seem they're halfway up the pitch. Romero will lose his head at some point, and Vic has given me. I've given birth about 4 times in the last 4 games because of Vic. He's looked a bit ropey. I think
He's got to play though, isn't he?
oh, look, no, he's 100% he's playing. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, he's as much as Anana's prone to a howler, so is Vic as well. Not maybe to the same extent, but yeah, I
They
wouldn't.
have different frailties, the two goalkeepers, don't they?
Yeah, if you say about Tottenham being defensively strong, that just makes me worry even more because we will throw one into our own net at some point.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. Ricky, correct score prediction.
Oh,
Well, now I've said all of that, I'm going to predict us to win.
Good luck.
Obviously, squeaky 2-1 to Tottenham.
Gary.
I could easily see this going very wrong. I can picture it. I think I think because we're going to have more fit players, and I think because we're going to have a better options off the bench to change it or to retain it or whatever, I think we'll sneak it. I think it's going to be a dreadful, dreadful match. I think we'll sneak it. I think I'll say 2-0. But yeah, I wouldn't be putting a lot of money on it. I'd put it that way.
I think options off the bench is actually a really important one. We're going to rock up on Wednesday, and I wouldn't be surprised to see 4 or even 5 teenagers on our bench. We've got
Yeah,
no options.
And they won't get used.
No.
yeah. That's where I'm hoping we come in. I think we've got 3, 4, 5 players who could, Mainu's come off the bench in this run and got a goal. Mount could do it. Ahmad or Garnacho if they don't play. Hoyland if he doesn't play. There's people off the bench who could change it for us. And hopefully, if it's needed, that gives us an edge as well.
I think what really stood out for me, Gary, watching bits of your game last night was I was quite impressed with a lot of your drawling. I felt like you were physically, it didn't pan out that way towards the end of the game once you'd made a few changes. But what I watched at the start of the second half, I felt like you were physically up to it against Chelsea. Like you weren't playing like there was another game next Wednesday. Tottenham played the game at Aston Villa like they didn't want to be
Yeah,
there. You were playing the game definitively, definitely trying to get a result. And I
yeah,
thought that was quite impressive because you're going in against people like Casado, etc. These people can really look after themselves. And that stood out to me. And I looked at you and I thought, you're quite physically imposing now, actually. You look a stronger team. You think like
yeah,
Casemiro in there, like Dorgu's physical. Luke Shaw is back available with his experience and can look after himself. The likes of Matswari, Maguire, they can all look after themselves. I think Maguire will score in the final. There you go. People want a cheeky little tip. Um, we definitely can beat you, Gary, because
mm,
you have the same ability as us to completely wet the bed.
yeah,
But my faith in us doing so is more because of you than my own team. And I think that you should win the game, Gary. I don't think that there's really much doubt about that. So I'm passing the buck here and putting all the pressure on you. Gentlemen, thank you both very much. Ricky, anything you want to plug?
No, no, not at the moment. Thank you very much.
Gary, anything you want to plug?
no, not for me, thanks.
I'll plug something. I'm in Bilbao at the moment. Hopefully, when you're watching or listening to this, message me. Come and say hello. These two idiots are joining me again on the podcast tomorrow because we're going to be doing a Europa League final quiz. Ricky and Gary, very best of luck in the final, gentlemen. Ricky, say it, please.
Come on, Tottenham.
Cue music, please, man child.